Hey guys, it's Tombox, and I'm back, and I'm here to share with you guys how to beat Yummy, the definitive TLDR version. Keep it straight to the point. You guys don't have the time to deal with Yummy. They're just flipping your stuff face down. Feels awful. Well, guess what? It's time to make them feel like last night's Taco Bell dinner. There's two ways of doing it. One, the logical, let's go with a proper side deck of Yu-Gi-Oh! And, try to outplay them. Or you can go with the hardcore hate cards and just shut them down without even thinking twice about it. Either way, I'm going to give you a taste of both. Make sure you guys hit the like button, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell. This is going to be quick, easy, and straight to the point, and let's go. Here's a quick summary recap of what the Yummy cards do. Cupsy, Cookie, Lollipop, all the main deck monsters, they're all starter extenders because they can summon themselves out for free after you successfully land a Synchro 2 or a Link 1. Whereas if they start with Cupsy, they get the additional follow-up Yummy Surprise. And then there's the additional starter extenders of Obedience Schooled and the pure starter of the Sky Striker cards. As for pure extenders, Yummy Surprise can provide it with the additional body, Lollipop Yummy Way, and Cupsy Yummy Way. Cupsy Yummy Way provides you with 2 additional body and a discard, and the Lollipop provides you with 2 additional bodies. And there's also Amusement Minion, which is the win con and also additional body summon. Everything just seems to do multiple things, and that's kind of the nature of Yu-Gi-Oh! These days anyway. As for their pure disruptions, we have Yummy Snatchy. On the main phase and battle phase, quick sync, once per turn. Then there's Cookie Yummy Way for the double Book of Moon that usually ends most turns if they're not played around correctly. Amusement, a Krogi for the synchro effect, pop up cards, and it provides you with additional follow-up if you accidentally remove one of their monsters. So if you're gonna play into it, make sure you finish them off. Then there's also Yummy Surprise and Herald of the Arclight. The surprise for the double bounce, but usually it chains to like a synchro, so they don't really lose the bodies and continue to push. And then there's Herald of the Arclight, of course, the Omni Negate and Dominus Purge. There's a surprise, hey, you can't search out of your deck. And finally, the tag out effect from any of the Yummy Way synchros going into the Cookie or the Lollipop. Of course, Cookie provides you with a pop or a minus attack, and Lollipop is going to be the graveyard removal. So their kit is very, very well equipped. However, one of the biggest weaknesses, again, is going to be just banishing away your Amusement Minion. If you take that card away, you're going to be facing a much easier time because they're going to have a very tough time trying to gain damage over you. Alright, now let's get into the counters. Alright, let's start with the logical hand trap basics, okay? So these are the hand traps you want to run against Yummy. Molcharming Fulos, Ash Blossom, DD Crow, Ghost Bell, Ghost Ogre, Fantastical Dragon Phantasme, and Nibiru. Now some of these are conditional, more conditional than most, but they do the job very, very well. But you have to time it well on your own terms, otherwise they're not going to be as effective. We're going to have some hardcore anti-Yummy cards down the list, but these are the ones that you're more logically going to play, unless like your entire locals is made up of just Yummy, then of course then you can main deck some of those hates as well. But looking at the starter cards that you probably want to stop, Obedience Schooled and Cupsy Yummy Way. Obedience Schooled generates 3 bodies and you can ash it, sure, but it's not always going to work out in Cupsy Yummy Way. It's a bit situational. It depends on how they start off with the card. There are ways that you can min-max on that one as well. We'll get into that once we get into the counter intentions. But I think we're going to be more focused on board breaking because lots of stuff within Yummy kind of requires like a sub-step and creates a little bit of an opening, but the board that you're dealing with likely will include a Snatchy, a Herald of Arclight for the Omni Negate, a Yummy Surprise for the double bounce, or even summon back so that they can get the Cookie double Book of Moon, and likely they might even have a synchro so they can tag out for 2 additional bodies. So let's take a look at the counter intentions. For the details of these hand traps, Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, and Ghost Bell. Ash Blossom, once again, is for Cupsy Yummy Way on a simplified game state, and likely Imperm would work in the same way if it was started with Sky Striker, because they can't tag out because there's no Yummy monster for them to switch out of the graveyard. They just need a single name and they can tag out, so that makes it very, very difficult. Whereas if they play Obedience Schooled, you're kind of forced to hit them with the Ash Blossom. Alright, you can use it to block Cupsy as well, the regular one, preventing them from adding a copy of Surprise. That makes your life a whole lot easier when it comes to interacting with them later on, because one less Yummy Surprise makes your life a whole lot easier, and the only card that can search the Yummy Surprise is the regular Cupsy. So also consider that, but be careful. The counterplay to the Ashes, What if they have an additional name? If they have an additional name, they're just going to special summon and then link off the Yummy Way into the Snatchy again. Very difficult. Obedient School, not once per turn. You might play into a talent, then they're going to play another copy, and there you go. But honestly, I don't really mind the Obedient School because they can't get access to Herald with the Arclight, making the board a lot easier to break. Then for Ghost Ogre, I focus most of my attention on dealing with the field spell minion and dealing with Snatchy when they don't have an additional Snatchy on the field. Preventing them from performing synchro summons is going to be one of the key interactions that puts you ahead of your opponent, and preventing them from keeping minion on board will keep you alive. And their follow-up for protecting their minion would be to use a Yummy Surprise to put it back, and that is a very dangerous thing that they can do to continue the OTK. So you have to time it very carefully when it comes to that, but keep in mind that they mostly only run 2 copies of Surprise, so you can burn most of the surprises. They can't recycle that card, making your future turns a lot easier to handle. As for Ghost Bell is the best hand trap when it comes to dealing with the second interaction. When they do the tag out effect of Cupsy, Yummy Way, or Cookie Yummy Way, or any of the Yummy Ways, this is the way to prevent the additional 2 bodies from being resummoned out of the graveyard, and it's one of the few interactions that you have to actually chain on that. Another card that can do something similar would be Dominus Impulse if your deck can handle it, namely Malice players can do it, and so you can use that to block the summons of, the Yummy Way monsters. And then there's also the Yummy Surprise when they attempt to summon out of the graveyard. Again, one of the most annoying things is that your opponent can attempt a follow-up with negating you with Herald of the Arclight, maybe gatekeep your effects with that, and then maybe activate Yummy Surprise just to bring back the Snatchy to act as a tuner, and then continue their synchro play from there, giving them access to Cookie once again. So that's one of the more dangerous things about them. Now, if you really don't like Yummy, here's some hardcore counters against them. There can be only one D-Shifter, I'll have Justice Quarantine, I'll have Justice Psycho Reader, Dark Ruler No More, and DD Crow. Okay, some of these are kind of logical, like there can be only one in D-Shifter. You're likely going to see these in the K9 decks. You're probably going to see these in Killer Tune in the future, but hey, these cards will shut them down pretty hard. It's so hard to out, like you have to have the out to deal with the first 2. What about Ally of Justice Quarantine and Ally of Justice Psycho Reader? If you just summon out Ally of Justice Quarantine, you can just beat over some of the more problematic aspects of the field, or you can just leave that onto the field and then they just can't play. But if you just normal summon out this card, I believe even Joshua Schmidt at some point mentioned it, it's insanely powerful, and it's nice to see that Joshua Schmidt also, like, yeah, if you just don't like Yummy, just play these cards. It will do the job. Being 1700, it automatically beats over Herald of the Arclight. They can't really have any interaction. They can't synchro. If you only put 1 monster on the field, that means Yummy Surprise can't bounce it back, so you get a little bit of freedom to deal with a lot of the stuff your opponent can dish out at you. As for Ally of Justice Psycho Reader, sure, it's like a glorified, like, light-based DD Crow. But the better part about this card, number 1, is also a tuner. Number 2, this Psycho Reader, being able to hit 2 at the same time, can really just take out 2 of the Snatchy. Your opponent is very unlikely going to shove 3 Snatchies into the graveyard, but being able to banish 2 will buy you a little time, especially when their field spell's not hitting the graveyard, so they can't just like put all the cards back into the deck, alright? So that's one of your biggest advantage. It buys you a lot of time. Dark Ruler No More, Raigeki, these are just full board negates. It's just, they can't do anything. Once all the monsters are shut off, then they're gonna have to rely on the graveyard to bring stuff back. As for DD Crow hitting minion, they will not be able to dish out the damage. You can set an Ash Blossom and they're going to be like, I just can't run over that Ash Blossom. There's just too much defense on that card and I can't take care of that problem. And that's what it does when you take away their biggest win con, which is minion. But you have to be careful when you play the DD Crow. If you play the DD Crow and then they go chain Surprise puts the card back into their hand, well, guess what? You wasted your DD Crow. So it's something that you have to keep in mind to be very careful of. All right, board breaking time. Here's the easy version of it. Call by the Grave, safer for Herald of the Arclight for the most part. You can try to hit like Yummy Snatchy when they try to perform that synchro summon if there's a Snatchy in the grave. But there's a caveat. 1, check for Surprise. 2, check for any synchros that are still on the field because they won't work. They're going to tag out. They're going to summon back onto the field. Your Call by the Grave is going to be useless. Guaranteed hit is going to be the Herald of the Arclight and prevent you from losing out on your chain links. And then next there's Nibiru. Nibiru only really hits right when Metal Marcher is summoned, because after that Herald of the Arclight will get summoned and, well, you trade 1 for 1. Otherwise, if you think the 1 for 1 trade is okay and you've already used additional hand traps to prevent the Herald of the Arclight number 2 from coming out, then even if it's a 1-for-1 trade, is not too bad. As for infinite impermanence, if you're trying to break your opponent's board, then it's again Herald of the Arclight. But if it's like starter play, it's Sky Striker line into Cup's Yummy Way, then you can hit them there and they won't be able to get that additional search, and they're likely just going to link off that Cup's Yummy Way back into Snatchy. Now, a lot of people say Pancratops is such a good card. Again, Pancratops is there to deal with Herald of the Arclight, and it can chain to destroy a card, which is fantastic. But when the board is completely layered with both Herald and Yummy Surprise, Pancratops becomes that one card that can, yes, it can go into battle phase, it can take out a problem. But if the board's so built and layered to the point where there is a synchro on the field, you have to take out the synchro, and then you're going to have to use Pancratops to take out the Herald afterwards. And if Snatchy's on board, and you're normal summoning out cards or special summoning cards, and they can book 2 of your cards, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So you need to find ways to really push past that. As for a hard counter, of course, Dark Ruler no more. You can't do battle damage, but you can regain full control of the board, as long as you understand that Yummy Surprise plus a copy of, say, just one of the level 1s, and there's Snatchy in the graveyard, you're still looking into getting double Book of Moon. But at the very least, you can at least attempt to play the game on your terms. Then Fantastical Dragon Phantasme, that's an awesome card because it deals with the Yummy Surprise, Cookie Yummy Way, or Cookie Yummy, because these cards they target when they try to do the double bounce. So this forces them into a different line of play. At least you get a 1-for-1 trade interaction. But not only that, even if Fantastical Dragon Phantasme did not do that, because the Yummy deck has to go into Yummy Snatchy, you're guaranteed to get this one activated summon onto the field and providing you with a 2-card draw and 1-card discard, filtering through your deck, digging for the more important outs, making your matchup a little bit easier, and those additional draws really just go a long way. Now, additional ways to board break. I tried this one myself. I loved it, and even if I don't get to play it with Shifter, I'd still play it because it's Raigeki. You just play Raigeki. What are they gonna do? They're gonna bounce their cards. They're gonna try and synchro. They're not gonna tag out their monster because everything is gonna be destroyed by the time you resolve Chainlink 1. And when you resolve Chainlink 1, that's awesome. And yeah, it just takes care of the problem. So it's really awesome. One of the biggest problems though, Herald of the Arclight, which means if they start with Obedience Schooled, Raigeki now becomes a counter for that entire board single-handedly. Is very powerful. And even if your opponent gets their board wiped and they go Yummy Surprise, summon back one of the synchros, at this point you just summon whatever and just swing into it, regain control. Now your opponent has to play under your turn. There's the third counter here, DD Crow. DD Crow, I think you just should totally just hit the amusement minion. Once you get rid of that, the game's a lot easier. Just be careful of surprise. You can hit Snatchy, you can make technical plays, but the cheese play is just to take away their field spell. As for going first, there's a couple of kryptonites you can use against the Yummy deck. The best one being there can be only one, however, only selected decks can use it, like K9 Vanquish Soul and Killer Tunes in the future. Now, what makes it so powerful? Well, the thing is, it can't really be outed by most cards running within the deck. They have to use Harpy's Feather Duster for the most part, because they're only out to use an SP if they really wanted to, is to go special summon the Sky Striker token, which is a warrior, link that into Kagari, normal summon out Yummy Cupsy, and then use that to link summon into the SP Little Knight, getting that banish. But once they get that banish, guess what's in the extra monster zone? It's the SP. And therefore they can't make Yummy Snatchy anymore because they're kind of locked into that particular monster now. Isn't that great? So yeah, no, they're kind of stuck. So they can't play and they can't build board, and they spent an entire turn to deal with your there can be only one. So it's a double layered interaction. Even if they can out it, it's very hard. However, if they're going first, they can easily out this because there can be only one plus one additional card on your side of the field means that they can use a Yummy Surprise to bounce it back into your hand. Alright, so this is mainly a going first card and nothing more than that. Then you can use a Solemn Strike, Solemn Warning, using that to negate the summons. Fantastic ways to put their monsters into graveyard, and they can't even really summon back with Surprise because they're not summoned out properly. The summon was negated, so they have to shuffle it back before they can get to reuse the card. They have to. It's not even an option, and therefore, if they are trying to get the whole tag back thing, they are relying on field spells to shuffle back those synchro monsters back into the extra deck. It's very, very rough. Now you have the option of D barrier, but I don't think D barrier is very strong, because if you call synchro, they're still going to make some link plays and still leave a couple of bodies on the field so that they can still perform synchros during your turn. But if you want something that's much meaner, then it's got to be different dimension ground. If you can just flip DDG on your opponent, they can't even establish the field properly to the point where they have an interaction. It cuts out the interaction, making it a lot more fun for you to deal with your opponent, because you can make them commit into cards, and now you put this on board and now they're really, really stuck. So it's pretty rough. But there can be only one, has to be like one of the best ones. Yeah, because it even ruins like cards like whatchamacallit, Obedient School, because they summon all three, they have to put someone into the graveyard. That part's already pretty bad, but once they have that, they can't play Sky Striker token. So in other words, it doesn't really work, and the monsters will blow up eventually. That's all I got for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, my comeback, hit that thumbs up button, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell. Check out MST.TV for some awesome sleeves. We got some awesome new products along the way. It's just taking a little bit longer for them to arrive, but once they are here, there's gonna be, I can't even speak right now. There's gonna be an even bigger announcement once they come, and you guys definitely don't want to miss out. Check out the mats that are gonna be making a big comeback as well. Check out MST.TV. I stopped working for Konami, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.